Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce, Bob Durkin.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the morning sessions. It seems that everybody's pretty happy, so I guess it's been a success so far. Great to have you here. Again, I'm Bob Durkin, President of the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce, and apparently I'm going to get a suntan. As the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce, we're proud to have spearheaded this effort and others to highlight, assist, and sustain the development of women in leadership roles through this conference and through other continuing women's programming throughout the year. As the region's premier business leadership organization, we know that by developing the leaders of the present, we're guaranteeing a brighter future for our region, and this conference is just one more example of that commitment to this goal. Again, we hope you're having a great time at the conference. Can we hear that by some applause if you're feeling good? Excellent. Well, the day isn't over yet. There's still plenty of exciting opportunities left for you this afternoon. I'd like to once again thank our sponsors, because without them, of course, this event would not be possible. And I'm looking for sponsors scrolling. All right. And I certainly want to, sort of a self-indulgent thing, I'd like to thank our staff and the volunteers from all the chambers of commerce throughout the region and all the other volunteers from the committee. So how about a hand for all those volunteers? Done a great job, once again, putting this together. A couple of housekeeping notes before we get started with the afternoon session. First, we hope everyone's taking advantage of the Instagram walls and the photo booth out in the marketplace. Saw some of the photos that were being scrolled here. Please remember to use the hashtag Empower NEPA when posting your photos. Hopefully everyone has also downloaded and embraced the Empower app, Whova. Remember, this is a great tool beyond the agenda and the sessions for management of your day. Networking features can also connect you to other attendees. And third, remember, the vendor and wellness marketplaces are open and offering amazing products and services. It's, again, this is the biggest event we've ever had. Mari tells us that I think the total number is about 800 people participating today. You know, when we first moved this up here from the valley, we were concerned that people wouldn't travel, but I guess that's not a concern. And I think this is just another great statement of how you and we as business people recognize that it's all about northeastern Pennsylvania as a whole. Working regionally is a really important part of what we do. So again, I want to thank you for being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Okay.
Please welcome back to the stage our presenting sponsor, the President and Dean of Geisinger Commonwealth School of Medicine, Dr. Julie Byerly.
Thank you. Thanks so much. What a great morning. You know, Geisinger chooses to be the presenting sponsor for this great event in our mission to make better health easier, and already this investment is paying off tremendously. My goodness, we're barely halfway through the day, and I have had such a wonderful time learning so many lessons and making so many connections. I just want to highlight a few of the lessons that I'm taking home just from this morning's work. First, thank you, Robin Hatcher, for that great metaphor of clay over gold. That will stick with me, and I have been thinking about what clay is weighting down each of one of us, myself and those with whom I work, and how we can take off that clay and let that gold underneath shine. And thank you for that metaphor. In a breakout session, I learned from Demary Benaya Rodriguez, and I'm so sorry, I know I didn't say your name correctly, but let me tell you, you taught me something. In response to a question, she said, authenticity is a teachable moment. She was asked, should you bring your authentic self to work? And she taught me something in her response about, yes, bring your authentic self to work. And as you do, engage with those around you so that they can learn from your authenticity, because authenticity is a teachable moment. Thank you for that take-home point, which I really appreciated. Speaking of authenticity, I learned that Dr. Katie Leonard is way cooler than I am, and ask her about her authentic leather jacket and the other things that she brings to her work as a leader and her life. That was inspiring. And then I was challenged, appropriately challenged, thank you, by my good friend Kim Drumgo, the Chief Diversity Officer at Geisinger, when she challenged us that not only is it our responsibility to lead, but is also our responsibility to grow leaders. And then she demonstrated her authenticity about her own balance and made us all laugh and feel connected and feel good. And that's only in the sessions I was able to attend, and I hate that I missed some others. I know that each of you gained skills and knowledge that you will take home, share with others, and build the connections to be fearless together. So enjoy the afternoon. It's going to be fabulous as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our teen sponsor, Vice President, Director of Sales, Marketing and Digital Banking for the Honesdale National Bank, Liz Nagy.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm Liz Nagy, Vice President of the Honesdale National Bank, and what an energetic environment this is. My involvement with the Scranton Chamber and Empower has led to a completely new initiative, and I am really pleased to present this year the Empower Teen Scholarship Program. The Honesdale National Bank is so proud to sponsor this, and we can't wait to see where the program goes in the years ahead. At H&B, we recognize that championing opportunity for the next generation is more than giving them visibility to what is within their reach. More so, it is about providing the tools, the resources, the mentorship, and all of the confidence to go out there and not just reach, but grasp, grow, and transform not only themselves, but the community we have here in northeastern Pennsylvania. Among us today are 25 teen students who are here to be empowered and grow their leadership skills. Not surprisingly, this program has been more than several years in the making. A committee identified that teens struggle with similar issues like adults. Fancy that. These are the same issues that we are here tackling today: mental health, finance, career path decisions, and so much more. So why not give them the opportunity to get ahead of the curve? With help from two organizations that I can say have proudly shaped my development, the Girl Scouts and Leadership Lackawanna developed the scholarship criteria for the program. They developed the application and marketed it to all of the schools, superintendents, and guidance departments throughout our region. On their own merit, we had 25 applications come in, and the committee was so overwhelmed with their opportunity within them that we've decided to award all of them the opportunity to be with us today. To ensure they got the most from today's experience, each of those students is accompanied by a mentor from Leadership Lackawanna, either a board member or someone else on staff, to help them take advantage of not only Empower, but all of the networking opportunities here. Small plug for my panel session later today. But at this time, and I can't see all of you yet, but I would like to ask all of the 25 Teen Scholarship Award recipients to please stand and be recognized. That round of applause is for what you have already accomplished. But on behalf of the Honesdale National Bank, I would like to ask the room to once again applaud these individuals for all that they are going to give to our region from this moment forward. Congratulations. We hope you enjoy today's program. Thank you so much.
Now, please welcome our lunch sponsor. Here to offer remarks is the Regional President of PNC Bank, Pete Danchak.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pete Danchak, the Regional President for PNC. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. Before we get on to our keynote speaker, I did want to acknowledge a couple people. First, with Mari and Christine and Tina and the rest of the chamber staff, if you could come out and stand up and be acknowledged, because this is simply incredible. 800 people. Where are you? You could come out. You could come out. And also, I'm going to embarrass her, but she's here somewhere and I can't see out in the crowd. But Virginia Goodrich, can you stand up? Virginia was telling me this morning that come June 1st, this is her 58th year at the Scranton Chamber of Commerce. 58 years. And she also told me that she is the longest serving chamber employee in the United States. But at PNC, we join in the chamber in celebrating women in our communities. This commitment is simply part of who we are at PNC. We have over 31,000 female employees in our workforce, and that represents 60% of PNC. Furthermore, locally, over 54% of my leadership team that helps run the bank are female executives in northeastern Pennsylvania. And 40% of our regional board members, including Cheryl Conley, who is here today, are from, yes, Geisinger, are female on our regional board members, and we increase that percentage every year. In turning our attention to leaders like everyone in this room, we take time to provide female decision makers, from business owners, executives, to women who will be managing their finances for the first time, opportunities to glean insights from our professionals at PNC Bank. And all these efforts are engaging women in meaningful conversations about their careers, their families, at home, on how they could get better financial equality and empowerment. So that's why we're proud to be a sponsor of Empower, the Women's Leadership Conference. We could not have a more fitting speaker than Melissa Gilbert. Melissa is an Emmy-winning, Golden Globe-nominated actor, director, producer, and also a New York Times best-selling author. An actress, her career began at the age of 2, appearing in commercials and guest spots. And by the time she was at the age of 19, she was at an iconic stage because she just completed a 10-year run on Little House of the Prairie. And yes, that's awesome. Melissa has starred in over 50 television and movie shows. Her company, Half Pint Productions, has produced several films, including the Emmy Award-winning The Miracle Worker. Her professional acting resume includes over 40 years of stage performances, including several credits to her name as a member of the legendary Actors Studio. As an author, she has penned 3 best-selling books, which are going to be available afterwards in the Empower Bookstore, and she has offered to stay and sign the books for those of you who like to purchase them. Melissa was also a 2-term president of the Screen Actors Guild. She served as executive counsel of the AFL-CIO, the California Film Commission, and was a 2016 Democratic nominee for Michigan's 8th Congressional District. Gilbert was honored with the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce Lifetime Achievement Award. She has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and she's the proud mother, stepmother of 6 children, and the grandmother to 7. So with no further delay, please extend a warm welcome to Melissa Gilbert. Thank you.
No. Now you can. How's that? Better? Yay. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, what a gorgeous, gorgeous day to be inside. We've been waiting for this weather for how long? And it's here and we're inside. But we're together, and that's fantastic. I'm so thrilled and so honored to be here. Before I even get into my spiel and tell you a little bit about myself and what I'm up to and how I got here and all that delightful, boring to me stuff, but you never know. A couple words about Scranton from me. I do have a Scranton connection, a couple of them. One of my dearest, longest friends of 40 years is a Scranton native named Michael Schofling. Michael Schofling, if you are a woman around my age, you'll know that he was Jake Ryan in Sweet 16 Candles. He still lives in the area, and we did a movie together when I was 19 years old, and I became friends with he and his wife. And when I moved up to the Catskills a few years ago, it turns out I'm now a half an hour from them. So the gang's kind of back together. And then my other Scranton connection, very important. A few months ago, I had to come to Scranton for an emergency root canal. And I have to tell you, if you've got to go anywhere for an emergency root canal, Scranton is the place to go. Because Dr. Gary Wadsworth saved my tooth and probably my life. So that's my Scranton connection. What a propitious and interesting time to be here with all of you. Can you hear me away from that mic just as well? No? Okay, well then I'll just hover right around this area. We are currently in the official 50th anniversary of the airing of the pilot of Little House on the Prairie. And I know, it's wild. And next year will be the 50th anniversary of the first episode of the television series. It was actually on September 11th, oddly enough. So yes, that makes me not 9 anymore. I will be 59 in May, next month. Yeah, I know. Isn't that amazing? My husband actually said to me just the other day, so last birthday in your 50s, what are we going to do for 60? And my first answer was, slow down. I got a year to deal with that. And I have to say, I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. I wouldn't want to be younger. I wouldn't want to be in any other place in my life. If you've read my books, if you know anything about me, you know that my life has been an incredible evolution. I started out, in the very, very beginning, I was adopted at 24 hours old. I was born to, I later found out, to a man and a woman who each had spouses and 3 children and fell in love and took off on a motorcycle trip in the desert and conceived me. Motorcycle trip in the desert explains a lot about me. They actually ended up together. They ended up married and had all 6 kids under the same roof, but 7 was just too many, thank God. They had, my birth mother especially, loved me enough to let me go. And I can't even imagine what that was like for her, having had 3 children, to let a child go. And Kathy was her name, Kathy Wood. And Kathy unknowingly placed me in the hands of Barbara and Paul Gilbert. Thank goodness, long, multi-generational showbiz families on both sides, because I was doing jazz hands at like a year. My father at that time, by then, was a stand-up comic, musician, singer, dancer, actor. He had started out as a child as an acrobat in the circus. And I grew up for the first few years of my life on the road with my father, standing in the back of nightclubs, doing his act along with him, and then also in between, backstage with the showgirls, who I wanted to be, never tall enough. Definitely don't have the legs for that. But I grew up around all of these incredibly creative, musical, funny, talented people. And on my mother's side of the family as well. My mother's father, all New Yorkers, by the way. Brooklyn, specifically. Flatbush, even more specifically. My mom went to Erasmus High. My mother's father created the Honeymooners and was a very famous comedy writer. He wrote for everybody. He even wrote jokey punch-up humor for John F. Kennedy in his speeches. He wrote for Sinatra. He wrote for Milton Berle. He wrote all the Dean Martin roasts. He started out with Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, and when they split, he stayed with Uncle Dean. Uncle Dean. I grew up with Dean Martin. I had no idea who he was. He was the man we used to go see who had candy. I didn't know until I was an adult, and I remember turning to my mom and saying, "Mom, is Uncle Dean famous?" And she went, "Oh, God." Yes, Gidget. Uncle Dean and Uncle Danny and Uncle Milty and Uncle Sid and Aunt Phyllis, pretty well known. Okay, but clueless. But thank goodness I was given to this family because it was always in me. As much as I wanted to be a doctor and still want to be a doctor, I sometimes get to play a doctor on television, so that's the good news. My life has been, like all of our lives, complicated. If you get to be almost 59 years old and beyond, things happen in life. My father died when I was 11. My parents divorced when I was 6. My mother remarried a few times. I've had step-siblings. I have half-siblings. I have a wonderful baby sister and a fantastic baby brother. I myself have been married and divorced a couple of times. Lucky number 3, and finally found, to quote a line from a movie that I love, "The quiet place in my heart," with my husband, Tim Busfield, up in the Catskills. Not far, about an hour away from here. But it has been a real journey of learning. I've also had a number of careers. I don't know about the rest of you, but I have been an actor. I've been a labor leader. I've been a politician. I have been a producer, a director, an author. And then in life, I've been a wife, a mother, and a daughter. And when you say wife and mother, that also means I've been a nurse, a housekeeper, a teacher, a worrier, professional worrier, a therapist, a chef. What else have I done for these people? An animal trainer. You realize that if they paid us for all the stuff we do, for every single job, we would make more money than Jeff Bezos. Women are extraordinary to me. So here I am at this place in my life, this quiet heart of my life. What does that mean? That means I've stopped trying to be who everybody else wants me to be. I stopped coloring my hair. I stopped putting stuff in my face. I stopped worrying about the outside. One of the reasons I live here now is I had to escape from Los Angeles because I had to go somewhere I could age. It's insane. I felt like at one point it got so bad. I was doing all that stuff and I looked in the mirror and I looked like Carrot Top. You know the comic? It was not cool at all. And it was starting to reach the point where I was, you see those actresses that don't look like themselves anymore, and that's what I was becoming. And I couldn't get away from it because there's such a high price on youth, not only in Los Angeles, but everywhere. And appearance, too. We do a lot of cross-country drives, and I get so confused by the billboards. Kentucky Fried Chicken, McDonald's, freeze the fat. You're wonderful, you're perfect, go to this doctor for a nose job. What are we saying to one another? What are we saying to younger women? So here I am at almost 59 years old, and the last few years have been this sort of epiphany of I'm just going to be who I am. I'm going to like myself. I'm going to love myself. I'd love to say that every day I don't care what anybody else thinks. It doesn't work that way. There are days. I intentionally don't read comments under social media posts because that's like a form of emotional cutting. It's not healthy. I would not recommend doing it. Or I would recommend not doing it. Don't look at the comments. I have found this extraordinary stillness. I've never been able to be still before. I've never allowed to be still. I've been working since before Little House. I started doing commercials when I was 2. I did my first episode of television. I did Gunsmoke before I did Little House on the Prairie. Yeah, that's how old I am. And I've now reached this point where, and mind you, still does not mean complacent. When I tell you all of the things I have going on right now, you'll understand. But I've allowed myself to finally find this still place in my life. And oddly enough, most of that came out of the pandemic and the lockdown, where I think we all had to sit and think about what really matters in life. And that's where my last book came out of, Back to the Prairie. What I discovered was all the things that I couldn't have anymore were the things that really mattered. Being able to see my family, physically hug people, the socialization, the community, that connection that we all had, we had to sort of maintain in this weird cyber Zoom world. And it made me crave all of those, and I quote Laura Ingalls Wilder all the time, the sweet, simple things in life, because those truly are the best ones after all. Love, community, family, understanding, tolerance, and that all falls under the heading of love. And so I decided that I was going to live my life going forward from those places, but I was going to do them to myself too. I was going to accept myself, understand myself, love myself. Some days it's hard, some days it's easy. But I want to share the journey, especially with other women. And so consequently, last year, my friend and business partner, Nicole Hazy, and I launched a lifestyle brand called Modern Prairie. And you can find us at www.modernprairie.com. Now, Modern Prairie, first of all, we like to say we're the anti-goop. You will not find a $700 sweater or a jade egg for your unit. You're welcome to use them, but we don't sell them. We do have a retail component, but all the people who make the things that we sell and promote are women, and they're all women-owned companies. And we just started an amazing collaboration with April Cornell, who I adore, who's this she has an amazing origin story too. She would be a great speaker for you guys next year, actually. She's remarkable. She started out as a housekeeper in Grossinger's. As a kid, she was a housekeeper in a hotel. And now she has a multi-million-dollar company, and she makes incredible textiles and clothes. I'm actually wearing I'm wearing the Melissa dress that April designed for us. Thank you. I know it's my first time out in it, too. We have wonderful stoneware and candles and everything we sell has a story. But more than the retail component, what we really wanted to do was to create a community where women, and no aspersions on women under 40 and 50, but where women over 50 could gather and share and have a community, where we can talk about all the different things we're going through, not just the obvious physical hormonal stuff, which we talk about ad nauseum, because I refuse to be quiet about it. They can't push us away just because we're aging. It's just not okay. And, we're going through emotional transitions. Our kids are leaving home. We're becoming grandparents for the first time. Are we in the right job for this last third of our lives? Do we want to be doing this work? Do we want to do something else? Maybe we've lost our spouse or partner, and we're navigating through that. So we have some really amazing workshops, too, as I say, on everything from we've had them on everything from dealing with grief during the holidays to how to make a perfect pie crust. Because we want to encompass and lift up everything that we experience. We have great crafting workshops. We're doing needle feltings coming up, and embroidery, and watercolor, and candle making this weekend. But even more than all of that, When we first started our workshops, they're all Zoom workshops, basically, for now. And the community has grown to thousands and thousands and thousands of women. And at first, everybody kind of had their cameras off because everybody was a little bit shy, and gradually cameras came on and cameras came on. Well, now it's almost a year later. And not only am I seeing all of these amazing faces when I attend the workshops, which I try and do all of them if I can, if my schedule will allow, but the women are communicating offline and supporting one another and lifting one another up and helping each other through these transitions in lives. Because let's face it, I mean, as we age, they want us to be one of two things. They want us to be either the sweet little old lady over there who's really quiet, or that mean old woman who lives across the street. And we are so much more than that. And I'm sorry, but what are the advertisers thinking? Aren't we the ones who spend? Why are they trying to sell everything to our kids? We're the ones buying it. They really should be paying attention. And I'm sorry, but why is everything a size 2? And why are we supposed to feel bad about that? Well, I mean, you could always go freeze the fat after you go to Kentucky Fried Chicken. I don't want the conversation around women like Helen Mirren and Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn and Diane Keaton to be the exception. Aren't they amazing for their age? Why for their age? Why can't we just be amazing? What's wrong with just being amazing for who we are and what we've accomplished? And if nobody else is going to do that, we created Modern Prairie to lift each other up and celebrate each other and make people take notice of the fact that we're here, we're valuable, we're important, we matter, and try and do some of this stuff without us. I mean, you know, we've all taken vacation from home and you get the phone calls and I blew up the potatoes or the dog's on the roof and it's always some kind of crazy, where are my socks? Where are your socks? So that's what Modern Prairie is there for. And I have to tell you, one of the added benefits, and I think the most important thing for me, is that we're creating a community where every woman who joins us knows she's not alone. Someone has gone through what we're going through, someone is going to go through what we've been through, and we can help each other along through all of this, and not only help, but celebrate each other. And I honestly believe, too, when people talk about, my least favorite phrase in the world, by the way, is anti-aging. What is that? I mean, it's inevitable, right? So why are we anti? Shouldn't we be celebrating the fact that we're still here? So we always say, instead of aging gracefully, we're aging gratefully. Because we're aging. Yeah, I get up in the morning and my ankles are creaky, but they're my ankles and they still work. Takes a minute or two, but I get there. So I'm grateful for that. The other thing is, of all the attributes and all this anti-aging stuff and all the things they're trying to put on us, the one thing I think, this is just me, the one thing I think that will work better than at keeping us young, at least up in here, younger than any lotion, potion, injectable, plastic surgeon, teeth bleaching, whatever it is you want to do, curiosity. Curiosity, being willing to learn, is what's going to keep you young and vibrant and vital and juicy. My favorite thing in the world is to walk into a room and know I'm not the smartest person there and I can always learn something. Didn't you notice those people who think they know everything? I mean, we see them on television all the time. All of them. They all look kind of pinched, and they're the ones who say, no, I know what's best. And look, there's always a man voice, too, with me. There are women who are like this, too, but generally speaking, no, you can't tell me, I'm the smartest one. It's like, but don't you want to learn? Don't you want to be open to new things? Don't you want to be able to answer your grandchildren's questions? By the way, I am a nana, as you heard, to 8 grandchildren now, not 7. My children are busy, busy, busy little bees. And I love it. I now know why I had children. I had them to get the grandchildren. My grandchildren are, I can't even see you guys. Is it possible to bring the house lights up just a tiny bit? Because I sort of feel like I'm screaming in the darkness. Do you guys mind? Is that possible? No? Please? How many, there's at least half a room. Hi! How many grandparents are there here today? It's the best thing in the whole world. And you people who aren't grandparents yet, I'm so sorry. It's the dreamiest, perfect, it's this incredible connection and love, and I get to do all these amazing things with these grandchildren, and I have zero responsibility. I can give them drum sets and chocolate at 10 o'clock at night. My eldest granddaughter, Lulubelle, I had her for an entire day. I was very tired after this entire day. She's now 8 years old. And I took her, I was in Los Angeles visiting, that's where she lives, and I took her everywhere. I took her on the set with my husband was directing, and she got to yell action, and I took her to the park, and I took her out for breakfast, and I took her out for ice cream, and she kept telling me her throat was scratchy, so I was like, we'll have more ice cream. Does it help? Do you want water? Do you want juice? No, ice cream. Ice cream helps? Okay, we'll have more ice cream. So she had more ice creams out the whole day. Turned out she had strep. Never even occurred to me to go, I wonder why your throat's sore. I just thought, well, she just needs more ice cream. And her parents weren't mad at me. They're like, of course you should give her ice cream. That's your job. You're not supposed to say no. So I have these amazing grandchildren, and God love, I've raised 4 boys, and I love them dearly, but they're giving me more girls now, and I had no idea. So now I feel even more responsibility to lead the way and say, this is who you can be as you age. Don't be fearless. Don't be afraid. Don't let people tell you you can't. Turn around and say, yes, I can. I mean, even if it gets to the point where, and I do this all the time, you can tell if you ever see me on stage, if you ever get to come see me in a play or a musical or anything I'm doing, I'm always terrified for the first 10 minutes. And because I shake, I hold my hands behind my back. Most people do this when they're afraid, but I want to stay as open as I can because it kind of calms me down. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, watch this, because I'm going to do it. And that's kind of what I see in my granddaughters. I want them to say, watch this, I can do it. And I think what that boils down to is just the one thing we must never, ever let go of is the little half pint that's inside of all of us. We've all got it. We've all got her. We all have that Laura Ingalls Wilder, curious, spontaneous, spunky, loving, wondrous person. I don't know why we have to lose that as we age. I think we should enjoy it even more because we have more time to enjoy it. I always wanted to be a gardener and a crafter. And I always wanted to have chickens. I had chickens, well, on the set. They were live chickens. They weren't my chickens, but I grew up around farm animals, and it was just something I always wanted. And in the pandemic, I thought, well, now is the time. So we built a garden. We built ourselves, which was an adventure, and it's in my book, Back to the Prairie, an adventure in and of itself. I am the reader of all instructions. I am the one who assembled the table saw and the circular saw that were used to build the structures that we put the chickens in and that we put the garden in. And as for crafting, again, I'm going to go back to this horrible time, and it was a horrible time when we were all locked down and our entire world was suffering through this pandemic and people were losing loved ones. I finally was able to slow down enough, and I learned how to knit. And then I learned how to cross stitch, and then I learned how to embroider, and now I'm learning how to quilt. And I'm doing it with these women in my community at Modern Prairie. I'm gonna learn needle felting next. I'm so excited about it. And I just, I feel like this is the last third, hopefully, of my life. And I wanna spend it doing things that I feel are worthwhile, that I feel are important, and that fulfill me. And these are the things that fulfill me. And my community at Modern Prairie fulfills me. And producing movies with my husband, which I still do, fulfills me. And acting does fulfill me. Nothing fulfills me like the grandkids, though. There's just nothing like it in the whole world. It really is magic. So I I don't want you to get the wrong impression and assume that just because I'm having a great day, which I am. I mean, I drove an hour to get here through the woods, and it's beautiful. The forsythias everywhere, and the daffodils are up, and the crocuses are up, and the porcupines are back in my yard. I don't want you to assume that like I'm just this happy, chipper, happy-go-lucky person. I've had some horrendous, agonizing tragedies in my life. My father's death, of course, being the main fulcrum of agony in my life at 11. But then again at 45, which you'll read in the book, if you read Back to the Prairie or you have Back to the Prairie, at 45 I found out the truth of the circumstances of his death. Everyone around us thought he'd had a stroke and passed away in his sleep. My father actually died by suicide with a gun. He'd had a stroke the year before, was under the care of the VA. This is in the 70s. It was not the care that he needed. He was in unrelenting and excruciating pain physically for a year, and he kept telling people he wanted to die and he was going to kill himself, and no one stopped him. And he got a gun. But I didn't find that out till I was 45. So at 45, I had to walk through the death of my father all over again in a whole new way, and it was not pretty. And it's still not easy. I mean, there's still days where it's still hard because that's my dad. Of course it is. But it's part of my story and my history, or my herstory, if you want to get cute about it. It's part of my life, and it's part of my children's lives, and it's part of my grandchildren's lives. They're going to ask about their great-grandpa Paul at some point, and I'm going to have to say, he was, if they ask, I will tell them. Not now, not at 8, not at 2, certainly. But, the time will come that this is part of the legacy that we have to deal with. And there's a whole community out there that I got involved in, the survivors of suicide. So, again, back to the sweet, simple things in life that truly are the best. It's community. It's this. It's having a chance to come share my story, which I'm going to stop sharing soon because I'd rather hear what you want to talk about, and I want to hear your questions. I know that they are submittable on the app. I am so not technical. I was like backstage, and Mari said, no, there's an app. Okay, questions on the app, and someone will read questions over a mic, and I can answer questions if anybody has any questions for me. Otherwise, I can continue to ramble, and I can tell you stories about Michael Landon, Allison Arngrim, Dean Butler. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Actually, Melissa, we do have a couple of questions here on the app. How about that? Was that a good lead-in or what?
Pa?
All right, here we go. You ready? It says, hi, Melissa. What was your favorite episode on Little House on the Prairie and why? And that was submitted by Eileen.
Thank you for that question. Eileen? I have to say my favorite episode of Little House on the Prairie was, it was the 2-part episode in the first season called The Lord is My Shepherd. And if you don't know the title, it's the one where Ma has a baby boy and he gets sick and Laura doesn't pray and he dies, and so she climbs the mountain to ask God to take her and give Pa back his son. I can't really, since Michael Landon passed away, that's a really hard episode for me to watch. I actually get choked up even talking about it because you can see how close we were and how incredible our relationship was in that episode. Like when we reunite at the top of the mountain and we're sobbing in each other's arms, that was legitimate emotion, and it's all just right there for everyone to see. It was also especially fun for me because we went away on location, which meant traveling and staying in a really fun motel, which across the street, they had a diner, and the diner had a machine that had like a little fountain thing in it. Remember those that used to have soda? This one had hot whipped cocoa supreme. And I wasn't allowed to have it because my mother didn't let me have sugar, but I was just fascinated. And what made it hot and whipped and supreme more than anything? It was just like brown water in the thing, and the cocoa came out somewhere else too. But at that time, so I got to go away on location, stay in a really fun motel, stare at the Cocoa Supreme machine, and be the only kid on location with Victor French, Ernie Borgnine, and Michael Landon. And I was in hog heaven. It was like having 3 hilarious daddies. And as a matter of fact, it was like 3 men and a baby, or 3 men and a little lady. That's exactly what it was like. And yet at the same time, when we were working, I was their contemporary. I was their acting partner and not a kid. And then they'd cut and someone would grab me by the ankles and just turn me upside down. It's a great way to grow up. I mean, if you're going to grow up in the business, which is a weird way to grow up, Little House was the set to do it on. Pa, you got anything else for me?
Okay, we have another question here. This one was submitted by Zarina. She was asking, what positive values did you learn from playing the part of Laura Ingalls over the years, and how did you apply those in real life as you become a young adult?
Of course, my jokey answer is all of them. And that's the answer. But there's more. I think, while we were shooting the show, I learned a lot by osmosis. And Michael Landon, who was our extraordinary and fearless leader, was, you have to remember when we started, it was 1973, and it ended in 1983. And so Michael was actually telling the stories of 1973 set in 1873. Like the episode we had with The Soldier's Return in season 1, where Richard Mulligan comes home from the Civil War addicted to morphine and dies by suicide. That was a reflection of all of the Vietnam veterans coming home addicted to drugs, and this was a new thing for America. And Michael was telling that story. In The Wisdom of Solomon, the episode with Todd Bridges, which had a complete resurgence during the summer of 2020 when the country was going through all of that civil unrest. It was absolutely a story about racism and lack of tolerance. We did Plague and Quarantine, very popular episodes during the pandemic also. Michael was telling stories of women's rights, civil rights, Native American rights, and I was learning by osmosis the values of Laura Ingalls Wilder and Little House on the Prairie, because all the stories we told were not exploitive, unless you count the episode Sylvia, the 2-part episode towards the end of the show about Albert's girlfriend who's raped and murdered. That was a little intense for Little House on the Prairie, I think. But the stories we told were not told from a super exploitive perspective, so the stories he was telling and conveying were done with that same sense of love and just desire to bring people together, as opposed to so much of what we see today, which is trying to drive people apart all the time, which is beyond me, because we need each other. It's absolutely ridiculous, but that's another conversation for another time. So I guess I learned a lot about life, but I also learned how to be a professional person in the world and in my industry from watching all of the professionals that I was working around. And so I took that with me and try to create the same sort of environment of cooperation and respect for everybody's job that we had on the Little House set.
How about one more question? Okay, this one is from Bethany. Can you tell us a little bit more about your new podcast?
Oh, that's right, I have a podcast. See? And I'm also writing a novel, but that's a whole other thing. My first fiction, murder mystery, takes place in Hollywood in the 80s. And everyone I knew back then is in it. They're just disguised. You have to figure out who they are. My podcast, Modern Prairie, we launched a podcast called The Nitty Gritty, Knitty, because I'm a knitter. And apparently I love a good pun. And my partner Susie Schubert and I we're only on twice a month right now, and we're gonna probably end up increasing that. And it is a growing podcast, and basically Susie and I are just talking about stuff that affects us as women of our age. Our episode coming up, we interviewed a woman who owns a company in New York called Bra Tenders, all about how to fit a bra the right way. We will be doing an episode talking about taking care of elderly parents. So we go everywhere from how to find the right bra to navigating when your parents become your children. And how do we deal with that? And so we're all over the place. We have lots of fun coming. We have guests coming. We're going to start a segment called Friends of Melissa, where I'm going to start surprising Susie with celebrity friends. And then I think we're talking about November as a celebration of this long 50th anniversary of Little House on the Prairie, doing a couple of Little House on the Prairie cast reunion episodes too. So it's actually really fun, not terribly labor intensive right now, and it's available everywhere on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, everywhere you. What is the line? Everywhere podcasts are heard. The Nitty Gritty with Melissa and Susie. Anything else? Oh, Jambi?
I think that's good. That's it.
That's it? Okay, well, you know what? We have a hand up question. I'm gonna take it. Yes. The question, because I'm sure half the room couldn't hear, was about finding the balance in life, and because I've found this place where I'm doing things for myself and I'm happier and I have time, was there a time that I consciously decided to do that? I will tell you this, when my kids were home, to me, as a working mom, self-care felt selfish, and I had a really hard time doing it. So what basically would happen would be that I would go, and go. And then I wouldn't just get a cold, I would have something catastrophic happen where I was in a hospital for a week. I would get food poisoning that would last almost 6 months. I would get pneumonia. I'd break a bone. And it was almost sort of subconscious, but I figured it was my body's way of going, stop. What are you doing to us? And of course, everyone would say, you've got to take time for yourself because you can't, why do you put the oxygen mask on yourself first? So you can secure it on the person or, in my case, the dog, who can't do it for themselves. And that makes perfect sense. And the same thing holds for self-care. And I wish I could tell you I was better at it, but I really rebelled against it, and I paid the price. I've had 3 spinal surgeries. I'm fused. I have an artificial disc. I tore my rotator cuff. I've torn ligaments in my knees. I've had pneumonia more times than I can tell you, all because I didn't take the time to slow down. So rather than me telling you to do it, use me as a cautionary tale of what happens if you don't. If you have kids at home, you've got to take that time for yourself. You've got to take time for yourself, not time with your spouse, which is also important. I mean, it's really important. But time for yourself to recharge. And I think it really started for me when the boys were teenagers, mostly because I guess I had to get away from them. Teenagers suck. I'll tell the story I told backstage too in just a second, because it's so typical, but it's our kind of family twist on it. But I started having what I called mental health days. And those days consisted of me staying in my pajamas or nightgown or whatever, eating nothing but carbs, and watching Lifetime movies that I wasn't in all day long. And nobody could talk to me. I wouldn't answer the phone. And the kids are like, I would tell them, don't call, unless you're bleeding, don't call me mommy. I don't want to know. And that's sort of how it began, when I realized if I just took those days, even if it was just once a month, once every 2 months, or even once a week, it made it so much easier to tolerate the other stuff, the running to the emergency room, or and this is the story I told backstage, teenage boys can be rough. And my firstborn, Dakota, and I, he's gonna kill me for telling this, but whatever, he was about 16, 15, we were in a therapy session. And he was really mad at me, just generally, just an angry teenage boy. And we went into the therapist and she said to me, don't say a word, don't react, do not defend, just let him get it out. I promise you, once he gets all of this out, when you go home, he's gonna be a different kid. And I thought, oh yeah, sure, this is gonna be really fun. Well, this kid busted out every horrible thing you could possibly say to a parent. You don't care about me, you never wanted me. He even went so far as to say, the only reason you ever take me on a red carpet to a premiere is so people will think you're a good mom. Wow, you went there. You dragged in my job. Okay, son, I thought you might want to go to the Harry Potter premiere because I didn't, but okay. P.S. An hour later, I go home and he's climbing on my lap. I love you so much, Mama. You're the best mama in the world. Of course, he just had to get the poison out, teenage boys. So that's why I needed my mental health days. And thank goodness I took them. There probably would have been a lot more yelling had I not. But it took me a while not to feel guilty about it. And that's so silly. It's really silly. And I do regret that. I look back on that and think, oh, I wish I'd done that sooner. So here I am in one big, giant mental health day now all the time.
We have some more questions in on the app here for you. How about that? This one is from Miranda. What advice would you give to someone who is fresh out of school and starting their career? And what do you wish your younger self knew at that same time?
Oh boy. Just out of school, starting a career, the only career I can really speak to is the career path that I took, which is different. And I guess universally, it would be go easy on yourself. There's a learning curve. Take your time, stay curious, learn as much as you can. Definitely take your mental health days. Follow your heart because you know what's best in any situation. Don't stand for any crap. Don't let anybody tell you you're less than. Don't let the boss, if he's a dude, lock the door when you're in a meeting. I was president of Screen Actors Guild for 4 years, and I had to have meetings with Harvey Weinstein, and I didn't even know what was going on, but my CEO and my staff would never leave me alone with him. And then it wasn't until years later that I went, oh. And I called them and I said, thank you so much. And they said, yeah, everybody knew. I was like, well, I didn't, so thanks. There is this thing, and I don't know if this applies for when you're starting work. You know, I espouse this sort of loving place, being calm, being happy, but there's also this thing that we all have that my friend Gavin DeBecker, who's a security guy, he basically invented like celebrity security stuff, but more than anything, he's a friend. But I met him when I was a kid and I had stalker issues and stuff. Little House on the Prairie, believe it or not, was very popular in men's prisons. Got a lot of fan mail from men in prison that they kept from me for a long time. And then I found the letters and said, you know, I never really needed to see this, ever. Thank you, though. So I had Gavin for my security, but he wrote a book called The Gift of Fear. And, you know, nobody wants to feel fear. Nobody wants to live their lives from a fearful place. But The Gift of Fear basically says that if something doesn't feel right, it's not. More often than not, victims of violent crime will say, I knew I shouldn't have walked into that blah alley, parking lot, bank. Something felt wrong that day. But then we shake it off because we're like, no, I'm busy, I have something to do, or people will think I'm nuts, or I shouldn't really listen, what am I doing? And then something bad happens. So there is a value to it's not fear. I'm gonna have to call Gavin. Listen to your intuition. If it's telling you that something is wrong, it's wrong. And it doesn't mean if it's wrong in the greater world, and this is for anyone leaving school and starting work, if it's wrong for you, it's wrong. Not being, you don't have to be unreasonable, but if it really truly feels incorrect and wrong and goes against your core beliefs as a human being, don't do it. That would be my advice. That'd be what I'd tell my kids. That and be nice to your mom. Tell your mother you love her after you say mean things. Is there anything else?
I think that was our last question.
What? Oh, and I have used up all my time. Okay. I will be signing books, if you have books to be signed, and I think there might still be some available for sale for a little bit, so I can at least say hi really quickly to you as you come up for a signature. I really just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you today and to share some of my story. It's been a remarkable, I'm just going to go ahead and say 59 years because it's my 59th year. 59 years. It's been such an adventure, but one of the greatest things I get to do is to come and share my story with you and then hopefully hear your stories too, because all of our stories are of value and are valid, and I think you'll find that the more that we speak to each other, we're going to find out we're more alike than people think. We have a lot more in common, which is why a place like Modern Prairie actually worked better than I expected it to be, because we really are. And that connection is the thing that keeps us going, that love. That's how I started. Love, community, hope, faith, family. That's what this is. This is you guys lifting each other up and me having the chance to participate a little bit. So congratulations. And happy spring, thank goodness. Hopefully it's really actually here. I won't be putting anything in the ground though until Memorial Day. I hope to see you all again, and I hope to see you out there. Please take care of yourselves, take care of one another. Be nice to your mothers. After you say mean things especially, tell her you love her. And I send you all so much love, and I thank you so much for your warm reception and your delightful questions, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your event the next couple of days, and you go home feeling full and empowered and important, because you are. Thank you so much. Thank you.